So we've got
4 left.
3 left. We've got
we've got
worst
4.
film.
We've got. Oh,
What?
sorry. Yes. Worst film. Made you laugh the most.
Means the most to you.
Yeah, we'll do that last because that's going to be a bit emotional, I think.
Yeah.
So go on. So then, Gray, what's the worst film you've ever seen?
So I've got an honourable mention, and I've got the actual
I've got
one.
loads.
Yeah.
Okay.
The only time I've ever left the cinema before a film has ended
Wow. Okay.
was to, and this isn't the top one, was a film called Boogeyman, which was a sort of horror movie that was absolutely dreadful in like the early 2000s. I reckon about 2005,
Okay.
6, something like that.
I recognise the name. Who's in it?
Nobody well known.
Funny that.
I think it derailed everybody's careers that were associated with it.
Okay.
It was so bad, we left the cinema, and I've never done that before or since.
Okay.
But
wow.
my actual worst film of all time is where my second movie from the Alien canon comes from, which was Prometheus, which was the prequel film to Alien.
That came out afterwards.
Years later, probably like 10 years ago. It also generated its own sequel, which is marginally better. But Prometheus is a film that tries to answer questions that nobody was asking.
Oh!
And then it proceeds to do that in a way that makes no sense at all. And it's one of those movies where it actually looks amazing. Like the special effects, they had spent millions on it. It looks incredible.
Right.
Like it's stunning looking. So at the cinema, I kind of was a bit like bowled over by the superficialness of how pretty it was.
Okay.
But over the course of like the next 24 hours,
the rest of it didn't make up for it.
No, so initially I'm like, oh, yeah, it was all right.
Okay.
The next 24 hours, you start thinking about the movie that you've just seen, and I started to go, oh my God, none of this makes any sense. It's just ridiculous.
It's not like things where, oh, that's why that happened, and that's why that person spoke to that, and da-da-da.
So you know in Alien, that when they go and get the chest huggers in the first time, they are answering a distress call from an alien spacecraft, right? They go and investigate this huge alien spacecraft, and there is one giant pilot who has got the chest burst thing that's happened.
So he nearly got sucked off in space.
He nearly did. He nearly did.
I had to get that in.
Well done. Well done. But that is the question that Prometheus asks, is who was that alien and where did he come from?
Right.
But nobody ever watched Alien and really wondered that. Maybe there was a bit of like, oh, it's interesting, there was this giant alien, this giant spaceship.
No.
But it wasn't
really, because that premise would have already been done in the film anyway.
Yeah. And it's just a film about stupid people doing stupid things made by a director who should have known better.
Somebody who's probably very rich, has too much money and thinks, oh, this will be really amazing. And
he's made great movies, like Ridley Scott has made decent movies since.
Is it Ridley Scott?
Yeah, he went back and made it. Yeah.
Jeeps.
But it's terrible, Prometheus.
Okay.
Really, really bad movie that some people still profess to like, but I think it's awful.
No, that's fair enough. So the worst movie I've ever seen. I didn't even get all the way through. This was, where are we? 20 odd years ago, and there was a guy that I was seeing, and this was his favourite set of films.
Okay.
And it's one of those where I think they're now up in double figures, as in, you have 1, 2, the return of, they're now on double figures.
It's not a Fast and the Furious.
It's the f***ing Fast and the Furious. It's the f***ing Fast.
They are, I would agree, they are terrible.
And he loved them. And I remember thinking, because don't get me wrong, I'm a bit of a car fanatic. I like cars. I like, that video the other day, Wet Leg, and I was like, oh, that's a convertible.
Yeah, you knew what kind of car it was.
That's a convertible Golf,
yeah.
GTI from the 80s. So I'm quite knowledgeable on the old vehicles.
Yeah.
It was dreadful. And again, it was so sexist and so corny. And the whole thing is just about racing these cars. And I swear now, we'll have to Google it, I swear they're up on
Oh, I think they are.
18, 20.
I don't think it's that high, but it's probably in double figures by now. It probably is. They are
dreadful.
They have got progressively worse as well. Like the first one, I'm not as massively into cars as you are, but I quite like the first one. But they just got slowly more and more ridiculous. There is one of those movies where there is the scene is a runway and there is a plane taxiing down a runway to take off, a big
jumbo jet,
kind of like a jumbo jet, but it's got like a door at the back that's open and stuff. And there is a car that's chasing it. That sequence goes on for about 15 minutes. It is.
Does the car go into the plane like James Bond style?
I think it does eventually.
Right.
I can't quite remember, but my point would be, it goes on for so long that the runway must be the longest runway in the world.
The runway's gone on for 40 miles.
It must be about 40 miles long.
Because airplanes ain't slow.
Yeah, it is so bad. Yeah.
Honestly, and I did actually struggle because it was, my first thought was Fast and the Furious. My second thought was, and this is where we differ, anything Marvel, Avengers, all that kind of thing, I just think are absolute trash. Doesn't appeal to me at all.
I get it, but that's about the genre, but not being your genre, isn't it?
What's the other Marvel, and what's the other one?
DC, Superman, Batman.
Nah.
That's fine. I mean, the DC stuff.
Just leave it at Christopher Reeves.
I mean,
didn't have to go any further than Christopher Reeves, did
I
it?
nearly put. So there's the Justice League movie, which was released a few years ago, which was so bad they've had to completely reboot the whole franchise. And it still gets its... Zack Snyder was the director. It still gets its defenders, that movie, because they released a black and white one.
Jeepers.
So bad.
I'm glad that you agree with me on that. And when you said it's not the Fast and the Furious, is it?
I knew it. Yeah, I could. When you said it got up to like 10, I was like, oh, it must be. So what is the film that made you laugh out loud the most?
This is difficult because there's so many. As much as I love horror, I really, really love comedy as well.
Yeah.
I really love comedy. And because my memory's so bad, I've actually chosen something that's really, really recent.
Okay.
I don't think I'd love it if you've seen this movie, but there are bits on it when I literally, if I had a mouthful of tea, milk, wine, whatever, I would have sprayed everywhere. Everything everywhere all at once.
I'm sure I've seen Everything Everywhere all at once. That's the weird time hopping.
Yeah.
Did you think that was a comedy?
No, but there's bits in that are just so funny.
Okay.
The sausage fingers.
Yeah, the sausage fingers are amazing.
And you think it's stopped, and then all of a sudden one of them goes to put a coat on them. And when they're two pebbles talking to each other and following, don't follow me. It was so funny. As well as it being absolute time loop crazy.
Yeah.
That was
It's a great movie, that. I love it. I guess I wouldn't have thought about it as a...
No, I know it's not a comedy. But again, I really struggled because there were other films where...
What's the name of the lead actress in that? She's absolutely brilliant.
Oh!
Somebody, and one of them got an Oscar as well, didn't they? Best Supporting Actress.
Oh, we'll have to...
Yeah. This is where the Google needs to be brought into...
You look that up. I'm going to look up the Fast and the Furious because I swear it's up to about 20 odd.
It's Michelle Yeoh is the...
Michelle Yeoh, yeah.
And then it's Jamie Lee Curtis got the Oscar, didn't she?
Jamie Lee Curtis. Fast and Furious 11. I'm sure it's more than that.
No, mate, it's not.
Oh, no, okay. In February 2024, Diesel confirmed that the 11th would be the final instalment. Thank fuck for that.
It won't be though, will it? Shall I tell you mine?
Yeah, go on then. What's yours?
So mine is a comedy.
Okay.
And I struggled a little bit, and I swung between this and The Holy Grail, the Monty Python movie, which I think is amazing.
Okay, but bits of that haven't aged well.
No, they haven't.
A lot of Monty Python stuff has not aged well at all.
But there is stuff in there that is aged absolutely fine and is still hilarious.
Yes.
And actually, I mean, you could argue the movie I'm about to say that is, I think, the funniest, probably some of that has not aged well either.
Okay.
And it's definitely of a genre.
Oh, God.
So Anchorman, I think, is the funniest movie of all time.
Okay.
And I watched it quite a while, I think, after it had come out.
Ron Burgundy.
I watched it at home. And I can remember for the first 40 minutes or so being like, I don't really get why people find this as funny as they do.
It's quite specific.
Yeah. But there's a scene in the movie where Ron Burgundy is driving in his car on a bridge and he nearly knocks a motorcyclist off his bike.
Right.
Or I think he actually does. And the motorcyclist is Jack Black, who is just a very funny man.
He is.
And they both get out. One gets off their bike, or gets up from being knocked off their bike. Ron Burgundy gets out of his car to apologise. And Jack Black kicks Ron Burgundy's dog off the bridge into a river. And it's done with, minimal special effects. It's clearly like a toy dog that's being kicked off. You can see it's a toy dog. It clearly
which makes
isn't
it even better.
Which makes it really tickled me. And the scene immediately after that is Ron Burgundy on the phone telling somebody about it, and he's in one of those old glass telephone boxes, shouting that he's in a glass cage of emotion. And it was like, from then on I was completely bought in. And now when I go back and watch it, it's funny from second one.
Okay.
It's one of those movies, like comedy movies, that just bears being the repetition thing. It also has a very funny sequel.
Okay. What's the sequel?
Anchorman 2.
Oh.
I think it has got a subtitle. I can't remember what that is. But yeah, Anchorman. I adore it. If that's on, I will absolutely watch it if I stumble across it.
To be fair, slightly. We should have done like Christmas movies and things.
I haven't got a favourite Christmas movie.
Elf is hilarious.
Oh, I could have done. I would have said Elf. I would have said Elf.
Gremlins.
I would have said Elf. Elf is my favourite Christmas movie.
Elf is my favourite Christmas movie.
Partly because I do love Zooey Deschanel, or whatever she's called.
Zooey Deschanel.
Yeah, she's lovely.
She's brilliant in that.
Yeah.
But there's a little bit of that when they're all singing and the sleigh just goes up. I get a bit about that.
I just want to be very clear that Elf does not make me cry.
Oh, it's really sweet. It's like, yay, the Christmas cheer's come back.
But yeah, I love Anchorman. That's my favourite. That's my favourite comedy movie, I would say. It's definitely the movie that's made me laugh the most. So
are we on the final question?
We are on to our final question.
Okay, so this is who's saying this one? Me or you? I can't remember.
I mean,
I'll
go for it. You say it.
I'll say it to you.
Okay.
So we had to move this question to last because, well, you'll know why. Okay, so what is the film that means the most to you? Not necessarily because of the film itself, but because of the memories you have of it.
So it's a bit of both, I guess. So, so Star Wars, as in A New Hope, Episode 4. Okay. That was the first one.
Yeah. Don't say Episode 4. That completely throws me.
But it wasn't called that when it first came out.
No.
But
So basically, the original Star Wars.
The original Star Wars movie. So my dad would have taken me to this, and I think like it was quite. I would have been.
I was going to say, how old would you have been?
So I think it came out in '77. I reckon I saw it in '78 or '79. So it kept getting re-released at the cinema. By the time I watched it, I think it had the Episode 4 naming convention attached to it. I think he'd added that to it because Lucas constantly tweaked them, right?
Okay.
When it originally came out, it didn't have that. It was just Star Wars. I don't think it even was called A New Hope.
No, it was called Star Wars. Yeah.
So I can remember because I can sort of remember being vaguely perplexed by the fact that it was Episode 4 and like, have we missed 3? Like, where were they?
Sure,
kind of thing. So I must have seen it at least a year, I think, after it had come out.
Okay.
But saw it at the cinema. Dad took me. It obviously decided at that point that I could cope with being in the cinema.
Not taking him to see another emotional movie ever again.
And I just remember being absolutely like dazzled by the experience of being
in space.
Yeah. With these aliens and this incredible. Look, the genius of Star Wars, the movie, that original movie, is this lived-in universe that looks like bits of it are old. And that was how clever it was, and that whole concept of.
It wasn't shiny and new.
No. The Falcon's kind of this beaten up ship that's obviously been around for decades already and is kind of falling apart. And Solo's kind of protective of it and clearly loves it like it's a woman and all of that kind of stuff. Yeah. But, I can remember like connecting with the droids and loving R2-D2.
And Martin when he first arrives and he's just basically, he's all, he's not complete, is he?
Who?
R2-D2.
He's complete.
What's the bit where he's not complete and he's all they put bits on him and they make him what he is?
I don't know what you're talking
about. And like
C-3PO
C-3PO is the same.
Not in so R2 I mean, the R2 in the they're both in the prequels. They're in the so C-3PO gets made by Anakin in
so perhaps it's that
in Phantom, but that's in like Phantom Menace.
Okay, don't need to.
Yeah, but no, I loved it all. I just loved it, and it, you know, my dad would have taken me to see that, to see Empire, to see Return of the Jedi.
Oh yeah.
And obviously, then, you know, lost my dad not too long after that, you know, in '86. So I think there is a bit of a connection between all of that Star Wars stuff and my dad. And I guess I'm really grateful for what Star Wars gave me, because it opened up this whole kind of like sci-fi stuff for me, which I you know, wasn't really into when I was little. But, you know, then that got me into books because I wanted to read more science fiction stuff.
Got you into Lego.
Lego later, yeah. I mean,
Okay.
there wasn't Star Wars Lego when I was a little kid. That didn't come out until the 2000s.
Okay.
So that was with the prequel trilogy. So it definitely reopened that back up for me, the Lego thing.
Okay.
I was into Lego massively when I was a little kid.
Yeah.
But I had a little town. Like, there wasn't any Star Wars stuff.
Okay.
I didn't have space Lego. I liked the.
I had regular Lego, normal Lego.
Yeah, I had a little town Lego. I wanted a little model village, basically. I basically had one. I built a little town. I've still got all of that.
Can we talk about childhood toys? Would be a really good
Yes,
one
we should
to
do
talk
that.
about.
We should do that.
Brilliant, yeah.
So Star Wars, the connection to my dad, the connection to, you know, just that whole kind of fantasy sci-fi stuff. I think it opened up that kind of window for me, which is such an important.
Oh, massively! I can see that totally. Yeah.
Yeah, and that movie, like, it still holds up. Like, I watched it like 10 days ago or so.
Oh, did you?
Because I'd done Andor, which I talked about, right? And then I'd watched Rogue One, which is the film that follows.
Yes.
I mean, interestingly, all three of these things were made out of order.
Yes.
Because they're prequels to.
But it works.
But then watch Star Wars, because Star Wars picks up immediately as Rogue One finishes. And I was like, oh, this all does weirdly fit together really beautifully, and it was great to watch them like that.
The original three, for me, if you watch them now, they've aged really well.
They have.
And it's one of those movies where I think, when I watched it as a kid, obviously loved it just the same that you did, but I remember watching it again later on and picking up on a lot more things, and because they're so detailed, seeing a lot more things. When you don't you pick up on things very differently as a child when you're a teenager to when you're an adult. And I know that if I watch them now, there'd be loads of bits where I've completely forgotten about this. Watching something the other day, great big scene, I've forgotten all about this. But all the detail in them, it's incredible, and it hasn't aged. It's really just It's as good now as it was back then.
It is, and some of that is because, you know, it's a tale as old as time, really. Star Wars, the original one. It is, you know, it's based on like fairy tale mythology stuff, and then he made it in the style of the movies that he'd been watching when he was a little kid. Those old kind of 40s and 50s serial TV. Yeah, all of that kind of stuff.
Yeah, it moves. The blob.
Yeah. But he had this really strong sense, I think, of what he wanted it to look and feel like, and it's that I adore so much. The world building is brilliant in that movie.
He completely nailed it on the head. I mean, to have an imagination like that, but we've all got, well, I love to think that we've all got incredible imaginations as human beings, we have, but to bring something like that to life that is then loved worldwide by young, by old, by people who are watching it now, by people who are watching when it first came out in the 70s.
Nearly 50 years later, we're still getting Star Wars stuff.
But those three, just to have those three as the fact that people worldwide love it even now, is amazing.
I think it's because it's sci-fi, but underpinning it is this kind of fantasy element with the Force and the lightsabers, and so there's this magical fantasy thing that's happening alongside all these incredible spaceships. And
but as you know, I'm not a sci-fi at all.
No.
You know, sci-fi is not my thing at all. But Star Wars, absolutely. But only the first three. Only the trilogy. The rest, I'd watch them, but
fair.
They're just The characters are amazing. All of the characters are amazing.
I think The Force Awakens is great. The first one of the most recent trilogy.
Okay.
And the second one, the second one completely divided the fan base. I like it. I thought the last one of the most recent ones is really bad and such a shame.
We spoke about it the other day, didn't we?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Could easily been in my worst movies. bit, that one. Anyway, what is yours? What film means the most to you?
Okay. So, I struggled a bit with this one because there's lots of, like with music things, you'll hear a song and it'll take you straight back to being, oh, gosh, I remember when this time of my life, or, that was when such and such happened, or, a good part of your life or a bad part of your life. Lots of films do that for me, and I really, really struggled with this. So, the movie, for me, which means the most to me, it's called A Chorus Line.
Okay.
Came out in 1985. It's a musical, but don't let that put you off because it's not the kind of musical you think it's going to be. Directed by Richard Attenborough.
Okay.
Michael Douglas is in it.
Oh, okay.
It's based in New York, and a chorus line is basically when you have a show.
Oops.
When you have a show, you have a chorus line who are basically like the fillers like the backing singers of the whole thing.
Yeah, they dance in the background, right?
They sing and all that jazz.
Yeah.
And he's auditioning for a chorus line, and he needs 4 girls, 4 boys, and all these people arrive, and it shows the auditions from start when there's 30 people, or no, more than that, when there's 200 people, and then he's whittling it down, you're in, you're out, you're in, you're out, and he gets it down to 16 people. And you basically have 16 people on a stage. Michael Douglas is in the audience. He's just got a desk and one of those funny green lamps that all directors seem to have. You know it if I.
Okay.
It's like a semicircular tube which is green. Did I say grey? I meant green.
No, you said green.
Green. Classic. You know if you saw
Okay.
it. And he's just writing notes down. He's a ruthless. He really is. And basically, he makes each one of these people tell their story about how they got into dancing, how they got into acting, how they got into singing. Each one has a different story, and that's where their song comes in. And it's brilliant because there's so many different amazing stories. There's one about a guy who was bullied relentlessly. He came out as gay to his parents. His parents, disowned him. There was someone else who... It's just incredible. It's just incredible. And I used to watch it with my mum.
Okay.
All the time. Ooh, sorry. So I used to watch this with my mum. And we used to sit there, we'd know every single word, we'd sing every single song, and we'd, sat there, a couple of bottles of wine or whatever. And it's just one of those movies that just really reminds me of spending time with her. Sorry.
It's all right.
Yeah, and I thought about it loads. As I say, there's loads of different films where I've got loads of different memories throughout my life. But for the moment, again, like we said with Desert Island Discs,
Yeah, they change.
this is going to change. Ask me next year, it's going to change completely. But at the moment, it was just that.
Yeah.
And sitting down with my mum and just loving it and being in her company and, having so much fun. Singing every song, getting up and pretending we could do the dances. And, it's just... and it is a good film. It is a really good film.
Yeah, I've never seen it.
No. So, that would be my film.
Okay. Thank you.
That's all right. Sorry for getting upset.
No, that's all right. So I think that's our list done.
That is our list done. I can't see.
So we will be back next week with a normal episode.
We will.